Chris Buckingham is the author of Crowdfunding Intelligence. Chris, how would you characterise crowdfunding in a business environment?
So crowdfunding, so there's two, what I call paths and models within crowdfunding. There's two particular paths, which I've got on the screen here, which at the top, we've got the project finance, which is the business side of crowdfunding. And on the flip side, we've got peer-to-peer consumer lending. And really on the project crowdfunding side, we've got 5 models within this. So these are the two paths. And then the 5 models within this are donation, reward, equity, interest, and mix. So it produces DREAM, the acronym DREAM. Donation is straightforward philanthropy. And that we don't see used so much in business context, because obviously that's for charities or for some cooperatives maybe. The reward model is by default what most people will think of. So you've got Kickstarter and Indiegogo, which of course get the majority of the publicity, rightly so, I guess, because of their scale. So that's reward. Then we've got equity, where you're offering an equity share. You're showing the risks and the payback for your capital that's engaged with the product. Then there's interest, which is debt. So you're raising debt from the crowd and then you're paying that back with a little bit of interest. And then finally we have mix. A mix tends to be reward with equity or reward with interest. It's the lesser used and the lesser known of the 5 models. But those are the 5 models that we have. So they're applicable across, particularly the reward, equity and interest. Those are the core sort of business models really of crowdfunding.
And how would it work for a business?
So with a business, you would first off need to contact the platform. So let's use Seedrs, for example, which are a brilliant British equity platform here in the UK, one of the biggest in the world actually. So Seedrs, you would need to contact them. You'd need to fill in their templates. So they would ask you for details about the team, the product, etc., the marketing, your position, your pre-value money, etc. Then how much you're actually offering in terms of equity and what your raise is, what you're actually asking for. They may need to see some sort of speculation in terms of accounts and figures. You would probably want to offer this anyway. But be aware that there may be sensitivities within that you don't want to give away everything, IP, etc., to the crowd. So there may be stuff that you want to withhold, well, not withhold, but not declare straight away to the crowd in case, of course, there's competitors there. They go away, think about it, and then they come back with a decision. It's either a yes, you can come onto the platform, or a no, in which case you need to rethink certain aspects of the campaign that they're not happy with. And if it's a yes, then you sign off on the paperwork and you start your campaign.
And what sort of issues does crowdfunding address?
So in terms of issues, there is a dark side to crowdfunding, which we've already touched on with the IP and with business sensitivities that you need to think about. But there's also you've got disintermediation where you're sidestepping really the banks and you're going directly to the crowd. So one of the biggest benefits of crowdfunding really, it's not so much the money, it's actually getting feedback or feed forward from the crowd. So they're giving you input, they're giving you advice, they're giving you their opinions about the product and about the vision that you're trying to create. And that's also seen in the interest model, because when you're raising debt, there's also a platform, a Q&A section open to the crowd. So there'll be questions about your team, your finances, your project, or whatever it may be, that are coming in from the crowd. That's important because there's another aspect to this where it's actually opening up more of the pitch. So you're providing the pitch you're asking the crowd for consent, their consent to create this vision. You've got your pitch that you're providing, but through their questions, through their comments and their questions that are coming back to you, what I call the pull, you're able to push out more information about that pitch. So you're able to give them more information and more detail, really, about the quality of the vision that you're trying to create.
And how would you describe the significance to the current economic situation?
Huge. Of course, I've got to say that because my interest is in crowdfunding. But if we're looking at alternative finance as a sort of area on its own, it's massive. We're talking in the billions now, and I'm including here factoring, invoice trading, there's supply chain finance, pension-led funding, community shares, including crowdfunding. So you've got all these different sort of areas that are making up this alternative finance. And of course, crowdfunding is a very strong element to this. It's in many ways leading the vanguard, particularly with the crowdsourcing, where you're engaging that crowd much deeper, than just getting the cash. So it's huge in terms of how helping small guys get in front of that crowd. It's giving them a platform, a voice, really, to be heard over the noise. But of course, that in itself is becoming problematic because as more campaigns are coming onto these platforms, so it's more and more difficult for you to be heard. If you think of Kickstarter now, Kickstarter's, I think I'm right in saying Kickstarter and Indiegogo, between them, have 500 campaigns a day coming on or being applied to the platforms. That's 500 campaigns a day that you've got to be heard above. So if you can think of a massive warehouse, you're one tiny little campaign down in the corner. So how are you going to get your voice heard? And we're finding now more and more it's the campaigns that are being a little bit clever, a little bit smart about the way they're getting their voices heard. They're the ones that are succeeding.
Chris, where can we find out more about what you're doing?
You can go to my website, minnovation.co or .org. There's the two platforms that exist. You can buy my book if you want to learn a little bit more about crowdfunding and how to put a campaign together, which is more of a strategic sort of step-by-step guide, really, the book, and on how to do that. Or find me on LinkedIn and just message me through LinkedIn.
Chris, thank you very much.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.